G'day, Friday the Mark. What round was it? Gather around.
Gather round. Gather round for a
It
chat.
has an actual number, but yeah, let's gather around for a chat.
5?
5, yeah, round 5. I'm Finn.
I'm Dan.
I'm Chad, and I didn't play Call of Duty this weekend. I watched the footy in SA.
Good man.
Did you
Good
go?
man.
Huh?
Did you go?
No, I said I watched. I didn't sit.
I was
in my
going to say,
room.
you fucking cock.
Yeah.
No, it was
that
a,
quiet.
It was a Higgins joke.
Got a bit sick.
Oh, that was a Jack Higgins joke.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I did play some Fortnite.
All right,
But,
there's a bit of an interesting round. Depressing for most people because it was in South Australia
Yeah.
and they jacked the flights up as always. So
Standard.
not that I would have been able to go anyway because I had a race on. So
The footy's in South Australia. It's just like Taylor Swift's in town. Flights.
yeah,
are
did you
double
see
the
the I've seen this post, right? This is why we're talking about it from some media outlet saying how successful, like, look how successful Gather Round was, and it showed the attendances.
Mm.
Right? There was a game with 9,000 people.
Yeah, yeah. I remember them being
One-
pumped about breaking 10,000.
Yeah, one game made 50,000.
Yeah.
The rest of Adelaide Oval were dismal, and I don't blame West Coast. Who wants to go watch them? Where's Carlton? That. But yeah, like your venue attendances were not good at all. Like,
Nah, not great.
total didn't even break 300,000. Like,
Nah.
bad.
How many can Adelaide Oval hold though?
60
Yeah, right.
or 50, 55.
A couple of the games I watched, they looked all right. They've got that hill there, don't they, where there's no stands.
Yeah, that's why.
That
That's why it's only 55. They lose a few
Yeah.
seats. Adelaide
Pretty
Oval's a
shocking.
wicked venue. If you've never been, you're missing out.
I haven't. The lights and that look.
It's a great venue. It's just because acoustically it's wicked for sport.
Mm.
Outside of that, same as every other footy ground, but atmosphere is always good. But
Never been to South Australia.
well, there's nothing else there.
Oh,
Unless
no, you got Balfour's. That's. Have you ever had a Balfour's sausage roll and a chocolate donut?
Nope.
It'll change your life.
they're not
Yeah,
that
okay.
good.
It is.
Nothing like Villiers, mate. Villiers real South Australian pies. Real South Australian pies. Anyway,
Is this like
let's
Crows
talk.
versus
Let's
Paul
talk.
going
Let's
on
talk.
here?
Let's talk about a bit of footy here, right?
Go on.
So, I just wanted to talk about my regret on getting excited about North Melbourne.
Oh yeah.
And when you break it down, as great as they've been, they've only won one game. Which, when you think about it, doesn't feel like they've only won one game
No.
because they play really good footy. But that one win in this season kind of starts painting a bad picture for the football club, right? 1-5 now, or 1-4, or whatever they are. 1-4.
Yeah, they played every week, haven't they?
Yeah, really, really bad. And then you look at the coaching. Saw a good stat today about Alistair Clarkson that was quite interesting.
Oh yeah.
Right. Excuse me, I'm just got a bit of the coughs, so just
Going around
bear
at the
with
moment,
me.
isn't it?
No, it's from the fucking aircon I was in all weekend. It's like
Bit dry.
little shitty box in the fucking Gascoyne region. It's terrible. Look, I
Coaching stats.
let's see where I was apologising. Yeah, so they've had 5 coaches since COVID, right? Guess who's had the most losses of those 5 coaches?
Is this over the length of time though? Like, how long have the coaches roughly been in there?
No.
Oh,
Just
5 since COVID, which was 19.
Reece Shaw didn't have a good run.
No.
Reece
Noble
Shaw
didn't
had
have a
more
good
runs
run.
than Clarko did in what would be half the tenure. Clarko's coached 41 games for North Melbourne. Reece Shaw coached 19, so less than half, and has had more wins than Alistair Clarkson has, with a list that was not as good.
Not anywhere near as.
Brett Ratton had 0 wins, coached 10 games, right? He was an interim coach, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Coached 0 wins, 10 games. Lee Adams was an interim coach.
How many games did he coach? Like 5.
6 games.
Yeah.
1 win, 5 losses. Right? He almost has the same win ratio as Alistair Clarkson.
Yeah. You math that shit out. it's
Oh,
pretty fucking
actually,
bad.
it's... I'll get to Clarko's in a sec. David Noble coached
30 games
3 games less.
than Clarko.
38.
39, 38.
Coached 3 games less than Clarko. 2 less wins and a draw. Right, these are all coaches that got binned for how
not
bad
being
they
good
are.
enough. Yeah.
Alistair Clarkson has won 7 games and lost 34. And that would be. Give me 1 second.
That would be keeping him up at night, surely.
So, Lee Adams, if he coached the same, his win-loss ratio, if he won the same amount of games, would have lost the same. He has the exact same ratio as Alistair Clarkson. So,
not the Hawthorn resumes of Clarko, though.
Look,
that's
this is what I wanted to talk about. Is him being a 4-time premiership coach the reason why he's still there after that sort of...
Well, I mean, your resume is going to hold you in somewhat.
Of course it is, but he's got the best list that North's had in years out of all of those coaches, and Reece Shaw won more games than him in half the amount of games coached.
Well, it's got to be the reputation that they're clinging on to.
Should they still be clinging on to that? Is he past it? It's like Ken Hinckley's past it. I've been saying it for ages.
Yeah.
Well, he had to go through all that Hawthorn saga as well when he was coaching. And obviously,
but so did Fags, and look at that.
Yeah, I'm just saying, it's been interrupted as well as
Fags won a premiership out of that.
Yeah, very different.
But on paper, North Melbourne have the best team.
Well, on paper, but doesn't mean it's always going to.
On paper, they got the best team with what is the best coach apparently, and.
I remember, like, even when Geelong, before they hit the 2007 grand final, like, they studied for 2 years with this exact same list before they finally, everything lined up and away they went. So is that what we're waiting for now? Is just for the planets to align, player-wise?
Possibly. I mean, he took a break away, didn't he? How many games did he miss?
It doesn't change his win-loss ratio. It's one win per 5 losses.
No, it doesn't, but it changes
only one of the Carlton coaches since COVID has had a worse ratio than that. Only one of them.
It changes things in the consistency of your program and consistency of output of the team, though. It's like building them up to drop right off and
but say they gave Reece Shaw 2 seasons over the one.
They probably wouldn't have needed to replace him.
Why did he leave in the end? Did we ever figure out why Reece Shaw got sacked or left?
Because he lost 19 games.
Yeah, and they had the full board discussion about all of it, didn't they? It was quite public.
It's just every single coach was getting
kind of grim,
murdered at that point. Same thing. What was happening at Carlton was the same thing.
Yeah,
getting to a certain point and then see ya. They're not giving him the time of day, and that's where they've given Vossi all the time in the world to achieve nothing. And I feel that perhaps North Melbourne.
They beat West Coast. That's an achievement.
I think North Melbourne right now, I'd say 2 years. Right, 2 years with a young list is a fair free run. Clarko's at that amount of games now. Yeah. If he hadn't taken X amount off, he would have done his 2 years now. And I think when you got a fresh team like that, like Adamuze, 2 years, and they're looking not bad. Considering after he started, they cleaned the list out. So I'd say you start him 2 years from that point. So he'll probably go 3 before you start picking on him. Mini, he's got 2 years at West Coast to start achieving something.
So what are your thoughts then? Clarko's got till mid-season bye to start getting some wins.
I think you're a bit silly sacking midway through the season, but if you get to the midway through the season and they've got 2 wins and they're still on a 1-5 ratio, you need to start putting the feelers out for the next bloke, because that's kind of what I was going to allude to.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Or Horse. I mean, Horse has more success, but either one of those two, I think they're a bit fresher in the game than what Clarko is. He's been a head coach in a lot longer. And
does it show the ability in terms of, whenever we look at the head coaches, for example, that, it's not, the head coach isn't as big of impact as we think it is when it comes to the administration, the supports.
But they're losing games in the game. They're not losing them from their game plan. They're losing them and they're not adapting, and there's a coach that's not getting them over the line. Nick Larkey's...
Is it the coach's fault for
Nick
that?
Larkey's tied second in the Coleman. Like, half their players would be like already penciled in as preliminary All-Australian. Like, they're that good. But someone starts coming back in a game, and a good coach will go, no, move the pieces. Let's do this. Let's do that, and they make it happen.
I don't know. Like I don't know. I think too
that's
much. We take too much onus off the players. It's like it's their job to execute and to adjust
you
in
just
the flight.
completely ignored what I just said, Chad.
No, I'm just disagreeing with what your take on it.
No.
Yeah,
you can't blame the players. I reckon half that team is probably penciled in as like these guys will likely be looking at a 40 squad All-Australian already. Like,
well, they're not. Yeah, but they're not performing. As a team, they're not performing. So if they're as good as they're
on the coach, then isn't it?
No, I think we put too much premise. We take that much ownership off the players.
How do you have a team that's won one game and they got a player tied second in the Coleman, right? The one player who's in first place, team hasn't lost the game, right? To say that it's not the players, you're implying that they're not doing it. That they must have plenty of ball supply. They got the best ruckman. Like Tristan Cherry's already a lock for All-Australian ruckman. You got their defensive line has been very good, but when teams get around them and on game day is where because you start every game, you're like, oh, fucking North's dominating, and then, oh, they've just lost. I'm pretty sure they've only been belted once. Every game's been a minor loss because they haven't been able to move the pieces and get it done. And that comes down to your head coach on the day going, we got to make a change here to get this W. Like, you can't blame the players for losing by a goal.
So you're saying their game plan currently doesn't stand up or isn't flexible enough?
I think their game plan is good. I'm saying it's
probably the ability to react
reactive on the day, and that's where I'm saying maybe Clarko's a bit past it now, where he's not quite making those adaptations, or he hasn't got the capacity in his gameplay to make game plan to make those changes.
Is it not on your on-field leaders who need to be more flexible and direct?
How can you ask for any more leadership from their on-field leaders? Their on-field leaders show up every single fucking game, and do their part and do it well. I kind of don't disagree with you because it's not my opinion that Clarko needs to go. I'm just being speculative. It's for the sake of being speculative, but
I feel like it's a little bit of both. Right? There is onus on
probably right.
individual players, and there's onus on players in their individual groups too, like a defensive unit, to huddle themselves together and just go, fuck, we need to find something here and step up 100%.
Well, it's similar to like you've got to even like you take the Crows game at Geelong on the Friday night, and the commentary was similar. Like if you read any of the Crows pages, is that once we started well, but then we got outcoached because as soon as Geelong threw pieces at us, we didn't adjust. So we don't have a plan B.
And that's down to your coach. That's not down to your players.
But as a team, they rank 4th for disposals, 1st for disposal efficiency.
Who's that?
Northmelbourne.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like they're fucking
5th for marks.
They're elite.
Yeah.
And look at their losses. They're not. That's not they've been getting belted. They've
3rd goal.
They've been relatively in it till about just after halftime to the third quarter. Then they fall away.
Yeah, and but a coach should be able to rectify that. I wouldn't have even brought this up if I hadn't looked at the numbers first and went like, well, hang on.
Yeah.
There's a glaring issue here that is, how are they losing when they're starting so well? And it's like there's got to be a reason behind it.
I think it does. It comes down to a little bit around the players, but largely around that ability to adapt and to look at it like what Clarko was sort of praised for coming out of Hawthorn was the ability to look at the game and go, something's changed.
I was wrong about their losses. They've been devastating at the end of a game. They've been
letting red time goals in.
Yeah, just I thought the margins were closer, but they're not. Right, but their losses are to Gold Coast, Adelaide. They belted Melbourne, which is fair enough. And then, and then what was the other one? And Sydney, right?
So they're not exactly weak teams.
They're
not Sydney's probably the weakest out of them all.
But Sydney are now on the march back, and we're going to see them deep in September again, right? Like so.
They're positioning themselves
based on those
somewhere between fucking 10th and 12th.
Those three big losses they have there. excuse me. Hang on, they've only played 4 games.
No.
Yeah, 4 games.
North?
Yeah.
No, they play 5.
They didn't play opening round. Oh, sorry, 5 games. It is 5 games, sorry. And then they just lost to the Dogs. That's the other one, who are now looking pretty good too, right?
Yeah, they can compete.
So the 3 big losses are going to be from what'll, at this stage in the competition, look like top 4 teams, with the Dogs biting at the ankles of the top 4 as well.
Yeah.
As those teams currently stand, right? So that...
But I think the point is valid. What I was just saying is like Clarko was brought in as this strategical, tactical genius, so to speak, and he's not getting that across in those moments and looking at it and going, something's changed, we need to change, we need to adapt, we need to do something different.
Yeah.
So there's ownership on players, yes. But
we don't know
we
don't know if there is a second, like if the fact of they've been coached to go, oh, this is what happens when the game changes, and they're just not able to execute or change structure quick enough. So is it like an on-field leadership thing where the communication's not strong? I remember Phil Walsh had a really good way of looking at it, where he would say, look, they would always want to play quick, but when the opposition stops you from playing quick, you've got to be able to play that brand of football too. So you've got to adjust.
You can't just be one-eyed and in one direction sort of thing.
But then sometimes it's hard too, because when you're back in your game plan, you've got the buy, and it's like, well, we'll persist and it'll stand up. But then if it doesn't, then you've got to be flexible, and you've got to have that. It's probably it's a hard thing to change in flight, I would imagine.
Yeah.
And you've got to have the awareness to go, all right, things are not going our way, we need to change things.
And it's, I guess, collective awareness too. You got to be able to do it as a group of 18 people, right? And all start moving in the opposite direction.
Yeah, but it doesn't necessarily have to be like a plan B in that sense. It needs to be more that it's game day. The coach can see a change he can make, pass that directive on to the people who need to make that change, and then execute it, right? So the only time the players really come in there is if they go, no worries, mate, I trust you know what you're doing, we'll make the change, right? And it's clear those players trust Clarko because they've been performing really well because of him. So, and yeah, we could argue back and forth. It's a little bit here, a little bit there, but how does the club look at it? Is my point. Are they going to start getting this knee-jerk reaction?
There was changes in their board and shit, wasn't there, after Clarko came on board? I feel like there was a whole change and a bit of a restructure. So probably not.
Club, you don't know that. When the pressure of key stakeholders starts banging on the door.
Yeah, well, you don't.
Depends on their coaching prowess. I mean, like whenever Hawthorn were at their absolute peak, I mean, like, look, game plan style probably fair enough, but then you've got things like, when you've got Buddy Franklin and Roughhead in the forward line, like they drafted really, really well.
Yeah.
Not saying that Northmelbourne don't have that team on paper, but their key forwards aren't the caliber of those two. Larky's not bad, but I'm sorry, he's a good player, but he's not a Roughie or a Buddy. He's not a generational. Do you know what I mean? They're not on the same level.
Well, I don't think Ruffy's ever kicked as many.
And there's no Hodge or Mitchell in that team.
I don't think Ruffy's ever kicked as many goals.
I want to rebut what you said, because there was a stat that was called out while they were playing. He is literally the most accurate set shot in recorded history in the AFL.
Who?
Nick Larky. Ruffy never kicked as many goals in a game that Nick Larky has done multiple times. I'm pretty sure Larky's kicked 9 like 3 or 4 times already in his career.
What about career, like season tallies? Are they similar with how much they think like Ruffy and Larky would finish
if Larky was playing in that Hawthorn side, he would have kicked 100 goals in a season.
No, well, yeah, the supply was incredible.
Which probably made Ruffy look a bit
better than he actually is.
Yeah, but I don't think Northmelbourne have like a Hodge or a Mitchell leadership-wise on the field. Not that I can see, or I would think. What's their average experience?
LD,
how many games?
LDU and Zerha are fucking very good leaders, mate.
Yeah, and Jai
Simpkin, great leader.
How many games have they got under their belt on average? They at the 100.
This is what we looked at.
Yeah, we did. No. Their average is 63 maybe. I feel like it was 63.
I think once the average gets around the 100 to 150 mark, that's the prime for players, no?
The team average.
Yeah.
The team average is
64 average games.
If the team average is 100, then your team is not gonna do well at all. Because
only 100 games. What's that? 24.
Yeah, but you got to think that teams are made up of players who've played
0 games
and players who have played 300 games.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, it's if your team average is 100, that means you've probably got
old players.
A lot of old players.
No, I mean, you want like when all the younger players start getting to the 100 mark, like that's
when a
that's like
player,
still in the
that's
60s,
when a
then,
player 100 between 100 and 150 is when players start really peaking, right?
Yeah, well, you've got
Or
3 years to
developing,
adjust
and
to the
then-
speed, and then you've got game styles,
Yeah,
and
then from 150 to 200 is where you get players at their peak, right? But you don't want a team average that high because it means you've got a lot of old players and not a lot of youth.
You're probably
in your
good for a
side.
year, and then you
That's it. Yeah,
bottom dwellers
you're
for
bottom
another
dwellers
6
for
years.
for a long time because you haven't recruited well. So, you really want to be where they're sitting right now at 64, and their on-field, like Jai Simpkin is hard like Hodge was. Like they got good on-field leaders, and the caliber of Larky. I'd take Larky over fucking Oscar Allen, who the footy world's dying to have. Take Nick Larky any day.
well, Larky's in much better form too. But
Not only that, he's a much better player. Like, he's legitimately a superstar who's been playing with a spud team for so long. And even when he's been in a spud team, he's still been fucking
Pretty good.
top 5 in the Coleman when their team's on the bottom of the ladder. You know, like it's
So they just need to play like a couple of lower teams to kind of get that fluency, mate. They've had some pretty steep competition so
They
far.
really
they've played essentially for the best 6 teams,
Yeah.
for the best 5 teams. So yeah,
I guess the next 5 to 6 weeks will probably be
there's
very
a lot
telling
of hard
of where
teams
they're
as
at.
well, though. Their run
Look
is
at what
not
they've got.
very easy for a team that was sitting at the bottom. But the whole ladder's shifted, you know. Like, it's not. Gold Coast look like undefeatable at this point. Like, so
What am I doing here?
But we've had like recycled coaches. I mean, like we had, was it when Malthouse went to Carlton with his resume, and that didn't
exactly.
didn't eventually. That was.
Oh, they got Carlton this week, so that's easy, and then they got Port, which is easy, and then they got Essendon, which is hard because who knows what team's showing up on the day.
Yeah.
Then they got Brizzy. Then they got Richmond, which is easy, but then they got Collingwood. Then they got their next loss against West Coast. Because it's in Bunbury.
Yeah, okay.
If it was in Tassie again,
Bro,
then,
that means fucking nothing at this point.
mate, West Coast can't lose in Bunbury. They've played one game there and they won. It's now
Undefeated.
undefeated in Bunbury. All right,
Yeah.
let's keep that going. But then they got Freo and Carlton. Then it starts getting really hard again for them because they get all the big sides after that.
Hard to say. Like I said, Geelong. Like I'll never forget that Geelong team. Like once, like up until 06 when they kept choking, then 07 all of a sudden it was just you can't stop it. You know, but even with like I said, everyone always remembers Clarko for the 3-peat and obviously the 4 premierships, but everyone forgets from 09, was it 2 or 3 years they choked big time
hard, yeah,
when they had such a list, and they could barely even get past the semis.
Yeah.
So.
But they were constantly there, and that's why he kept that job at that footy club.
He just did it. It was like the Hinkley effect, where you just do enough to kind of, you challenge for a final, and it's enough for some people. But there was still, and then the last 3 years of his time at Hawthorn, he didn't have a lot of success. So it's a mixed bag. But I mean, like you can be a great coach at one place. It's almost like you can be a great dad, but if you're a stepdad, and that kid's redheaded, like. You're not going to be the same. You're not going to be the same coach. Do you know what I mean? Like you're going to treat it differently.
Yep.
Oh, that might just be my childhood. But do you know what I mean? Like
you are not redheaded.
Your dad didn't see that. He saw red a lot. No, he's a great man.
But his belt collection.
Was
Too much. Good.
But so I don't know. Like it could be. Like, we could just be a few games away from them clicking all of a sudden, and then it could be like a Gold Coast effect. We'll watch out after that.
We could be a few games away from them plummeting to the bottom.
Well, it could be. It could fall apart, and Clarko could get the boot, and
look for North Melbourne fans. At least you can see that your team is rapidly improved, and they. Are really starting to look like a good footy club.
At least you got something to hang on to.
Yeah.
At least they play a quarter.
But hey, that's what happens when you get gifted more picks than you need. So when you beg for help.
Well, same with Gold Coast now. Like that's a lot of handouts, and look what they've become. You know, like they're still powerful.
Yeah.
And that, like, is that going to be fair for the rest of the comp when it's like, well, how are you going to stop them when you've got that much top end talent?
Yeah, well,
It's
the Giants have been like that for a long time, and they still haven't got it over the line. So
Still haven't locked one down, but they want
No,
one of
they
those
took-
teams to get one. So
one of them have got to do it.
Oh,
Yeah.
I hope GWS. It'd be nice to see Toby Green get it before he pulls
wouldn't
the
it?
pin.
Yeah.
Mm. Would.
Be nice for either one of those clubs to get it before Freo does. So
Or even Tasmania, if they might have a better shot at.
It's almost like the AFL have given up on the fact that on Freo full stop. They're just like, oh, fuck it. Like we'll
They're-
go for these new expansion.
they're a
clubs.
placeholder.
Yeah. I got fucking mixed up in my brain the other day. I saw a headline about new WA team, and then it was about NRL. I was like, damn. I was thinking, fuck, we're getting WA3 in the footy. Like, no, we're not.
No.
We're not.
After our discussion last week, do you think it's the right time for
No,
WA3?
no, there's no talent. There's no talent
It's not there's no
in
talent.
this state right
there's a
now.
lack
not
of
signed to Freo.
lack of development, and none of them are coming home from over east.
No, they're not.
And can you blame them?
No, the
Not
drugs
right
are
now.
the drugs are much cheaper over east.
Yeah,
That Nullarbor, man, they fucking sting you. Dogs.
Nullarbor tax.
Pay drug tax.
No, don't do drugs, kids.
I just thought it was pretty interesting
They're
thing to
just
look
like-
at with Clarko. So
Yeah,
there's not a lot of people have had the free run he's had at that footy club specifically.
no, it'll definitely
I'm
be.
trying to think what else
interesting.
coach has been recycled. Like, obviously, we spoke about Malthouse. He didn't get much of a crack at Carlton before. I'm not sure if he cracked the shits or.
No. They were just
know?
it was a fucking revolving door at Carlton.
Yeah, the same with Malcolm Blight. Like, he was a great coach at the Crows. St Kilda didn't even give him a full season before they booted him out. You know, and they accused him of not being good with young talent. But if you look at the age profile with the Crows in '97 and '98, they were young.
Yeah, I think you
Yeah.
are. A lot of clubs, a few of those Victorian clubs over the last 10 years had a big problem with a revolving coach door. Right? I'm a firm believer in giving them a fucking fair crack, right?
Mm. You can't make him the scapegoat every time.
Like, and you can't expect a team to flourish if they keep seeing the fucking coaches go out the door, right?
Mm.
Like, it's not. It's pretty hard to expect the players to invest in the coach when he's
They
gonna.
don't fucking know the guy.
Well,
Relationships
he's
take
he's
time,
going to
yeah.
be gone soon. There's no point.
Yeah,
Like,
he's literally just walked in, started telling us what to do,
yeah.
and
I know,
nobody
but
fucking
then
knows
like,
him
why
from
would we
Adam.
bother? They're going to sack him soon anyway.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying that the players didn't want to. I'm saying that they would have just expected the next guy's going to be there for 10 weeks and then he's out the door as well. Like, and Carlton North were really bad for doing that.
Oh yeah,
Real bad for it. Like, just the revolving door. So what, you can't just expect someone to walk in and fucking win games. Like, you got to give them a couple of years, right? And what I think North got that right, and then Carlton got that right, but Vossi's not been the right guy for that.
no.
He's helped build them up, but actually getting them somewhere, different story.
Different indeed.
Different
Indeed.
story.
They got themselves a nice big win this week. Like,
Yeah.
this weekend gone
Mhm.
massive
As
against the traffic
expected.
cones.
Against the traffic cones.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I am fucking over it. Like, I'm so over
Are
it.
you not at the numb stage yet where you just don't feel anything anymore? Like,
Well, I don't
He
know.
thought he
to be
was
honest.
there, and
yeah,
then
and it was actually dismal. Like,
yeah.
This is the problem with getting excited during the off season.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. Like I was ready for this year. I was like, it's been a couple of shit years. Like, I'm ready. And I was thinking, I'm going to go to a
Mate,
couple
have
of games this year. Am I fuck? I am not going to bother myself to get down to that
Have you been a
stadium.
Bombers supporter? Like that? That's like 30 years of pain.
Yeah, look.
You've got nothing. It's coming worse than that.
Hopefully it's fucking not. Like, I can't live
Bombers.
in
What
that
about
space,
the
mate. I like
Saints
winning.
fans, mate?
Yeah, but you know the difference between West Coast and the Bombers? West Coast handled the drug saga like a fucking champion. Essendon, too much.
Too much. Too fucking much. But no, I've just had enough of it. It was actually difficult to watch. And even over the last couple of years, I've watched every game. I've watched every press conference. I've watched every fucking player interview I can. And I'm like, yeah, I bought in. Everything's fine. It's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. This week, I was just like, oh my fucking God.
See, I started watching out in the racetrack,
Yeah.
sitting there in the gazebo, and like cars just gone out. Got an hour or so before it comes back. Kind of sit here and watch the game, and I watched the start. Yeah, cool. Off to what looks like a good start.
Kicked the first goal, which was kind of handy. It's what we needed. We needed a bit of a rush, a rush of blood and some excitement.
Well, if you turned off after that, you would have been okay.
Yeah, 100%. But instead, I carried on watching what felt like the longest game of football I think I've ever watched. It was just, mate, actually painful. It's actually painful.
With young teams, because like your age profile is very, very young. I always go like, have you ever seen the movie Coach Carter?
Great.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
I always thought
that's Denzel, eh? Coach Carter.
Samuel L. Jackson.
Oh yeah, sorry, yeah, that's Denzel's Remember Titans. Coach Carter is the one who makes them do their homework, right?
Yeah, they could go to college. Yeah. But like his premise, I used to love it when they first started training, because obviously they're young, they don't have any cohesion. Was like, you can run, and some coaches try and go, look, we've got this game plan and it's zoned and we've got all this, like, look, I'm not well. If you try and tell Chad we need you to do all these zones, I'm like, look, I'm instinctual. Just let me go.
Yeah.
Like, is it easy to just kind of say, look, I'd rather this team play instinctual for 2 years and just.
Well, that's kind of my thoughts.
You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, because you get
at West Coast instinctual. Well, you want them to stand still.
It's just like handball chains and just up and back, almost like a yellow tsunami.
I think you ask a valid question, right? But you watch that team. Like, I was watching that game, and first quarter, I was like, arm wrestle. Carlton shot a bit better. It's still in it, right? And then as soon as they kicked the next goal in the second quarter, I just turned it off. This game's over. It's done, right? What you're suggesting, right? I don't think it works when you're a new coach coming in. You're head coach for the first time. You've got a few things to do, right? You got to develop good relationships with players, right? You got to try instill a winning culture in a team that sucks. You got to try break the habits of the senior players who have fallen into these depressive ruts and not achieving anything. You got to mitigate the issues around your star recruits and the constant media barrage. And you got to deal with 2 fucking captains who don't want to be there.
Right? Who's the other captain?
Liam Duggan. Right.
Who's playing
does he not want to be them?
Well, he's playing like he doesn't.
Yeah, shittest captain I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
When he was, I cast my mind back to after he'd been recruited, he'd been drafted, and I don't know, he was in his first 50 games, and I remember watching him running all down the boundary, and he snaps, because he's left-footed, right, and he snaps this kick, and he just taken the ball and gone. He's like, fuck, I'm just going to pick it up and go. Blitz past 2 people, and he lines up, might have been Darling, and he coming down in the wing, right, in the pocket, and he just kicks the ball straight with his left foot straight across his chest to JK standing in the centre of the 50, right, and he made everyone think he was going to Darling, and just boom, cut it across, and it was like a fucking epic moment. I remember sitting there going, this kid wants to be a winner. Yeah. He'll lead this club one day. Right? He'll be captain.
You flew the flag for him way before, yeah.
Ages ago, and I was like, Duggo. And then he grew the mullet, and when the mullet came in, he was just like fucking, I can play inside mid now, and would just start fucking ripping the ball. And he's what Liam Baker is. That's what he was, right? And I was like, man, this dude's fucking good, and he's going to be a leader. And then as soon as he became a fucking leader, right, and for a while I was like, it's because he cut his mullet off. But bullshit, it's because he's fucking shit. He's not a good captain material.
No, should be able to, relinquish the captaincy.
I haven't seen either of those two
go back and focus on playing.
Spray anyone on the field.
Nah, not once. I haven't seen him stand for anything. Yeah, really. Like,
so Minnie's got
they're both down on form, so it's probably kind of frustrating for themselves. But at the same time, like,
they don't seem to care though.
No, that's exactly it. Like, they're not showing up with any kind of intent, which is then across the entire team.
Yeah, because you lead by example, right? So most head coaches start, and they don't have to deal with the retain Harley Reid problem and mitigate the media, and 2 captains that are fucking shit.
I feel like that could be handled differently too by just saying, by just sitting there and saying, fucking leave him alone. Getting behind him and saying, just leave him alone and let him do his job. That's how you mitigate that. And then you move on from it, in my opinion. But no one's actually stood up and stood firm and gone,
now the
"Fuck,
media
this is getting
seem to think that
ridiculous
they're
now."
fucking untouchable, and every time someone arcs up at them, they end up getting them suspended or whatever. Like, and giving them too much power. But it's it's bad. But you got to deal with those two problems on top of executing this game plan, right? So what he should be doing is like, well, I'm just going to have to keep pushing the game plan that I think can stand up, and I'm a good coach and I can do this, and hopefully the rest of it will kind of fall in line with that, right? And he has to be really friendly with his players and build this trust and build the relationship. But he's got to deal with the fucking glaring problem that his two captains aren't there to push what he's trying to. He's peddling wares and they're not fucking selling it.
Yep.
But it is more like not trying to overcomplicate the game plan. It's to look, tackle intensity,
I agree, yeah,
handballing.
Just do that stuff, right? But you can't, as I said, you can't expect them to go extinctual right now because their instinct is to do fuck all.
To do what their captains are doing.
Yeah.
Which is to do nothing. Another senior players, you look at Tim Kelly. I messaged this to you guys. He was tagged in the waffle game, but he should have gone back into that game, had fucking 35, 40 touches, probably kicked a goal or two. When you look at his prior form when he was in the waffle and fucking dominated before he went to Geelong.
He's disinterested.
Disinterested. He had 20, kicked 0.
I would watch what happens next week before you make a judgment call on that, right? Because
like I say, he was tagged
quite a lot of times.
Still,
Elliot Yo's gone back to the waffle and done nothing the first week, and then the next week he's been so dominant that
he's gone into the waffle coming from injury, not into the waffle coming from seniors.
Doesn't matter. It's the same deal because you're moving into a different type of game, right? Like a game that
you should fucking dominate if you. Tim Kelly.
Yeah, but look at Will Brodie. Doesn't dominate in the waffle. Only dominates in the AFL.
Yeah, that's why they play him in the waffle. He's too good for the
Like I wouldn't make a judgment yet until he's done 2 there. If he does a second one there and it's bad, well,
be bad.
Retirement's calling your name because you don't.
Well, there's kids that are out there that are having fucking 35, 36 touches and getting on the end of a couple of goals and. Heaps more pressure.
I'm hearing you.
I just think it's a fucking joke.
Well, I think even with captains are important in terms of leadership, right? But just because you're young doesn't mean you can't lead either.
No, absolutely not.
I'll give you one. This is slightly war related, but it's also football related. But just hear me out with it. So, have you ever heard the story of Teddy Sheehan?
Yeah, I've talked to you. You've talked to me about this before. But tell us again.
Because it's war related.
Yeah.
Look, it is World War II, but just in terms of premise of what people can achieve. So he was on one of it was the HMAS Armidale during the World War II, and he was, I think he was just 2 months shy of 19, and the ship he was on ended up getting attacked and shot at by Japanese planes. And so he wasn't even a full seaman. He was just a sailor. So he didn't have any rank.
Seaman.
Fucking child.
Yeah. That's how they come about. Yeah. Seaman, child, and then adult. Yeah. Duggan. And then you've got, it was getting shot, it was getting attacked, and it was sinking because it had been hit, right?
Yeah.
So he was one of the youngest people on board. And even when, you had officers of rank trying to save themselves and get off the ship and whatnot. Young Teddy Sheehan when he was trying to help people get off the ship, he was shot with one of the planes and it hit him in the leg. But he still crawled over to one of the gunners and he shot at the planes to try and buy time for the rest of the crew to get off the ship.
While his seniors were jumping off the ship and saving themselves.
Yeah, and he actually shot down one of the planes.
Far out.
And he went down with the ship at the age of 18.
Yeah.
That's a leader.
But he had no rank, no nothing,
I mean, leaders and leadership qualities.
We said this a few weeks ago. It's something that
people display them from a very young age. But you can see it in children. Do you know what I mean? Like it's
when you think what you can the level of maturity and selflessness at the age of 18. I'm not shit talking about those players. When Harley Reid's 19, so when people say he's not capable yet, you are capable.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And it took him 80 years to even get recognised with the highest military honour since that point,
that's
which was
that's
disgusting.
wild.
You know? But if you've ever read the book, you can still get access to it. It's a phenomenal story.
Yeah.
You know, but honestly, that's one thing I would read to the West Coast players. Go, you know, if you think you can't have impact even when you're young and inexperienced, you know, you can still achieve something incredible.
Yeah. You're fucking wrong. Yeah.
And it's like you mix that in with a little bit of Coach Carter. You can run. You're young. You should not be tired.
No, this is.
You know, like if your
should be able
tackle
to
count should be
defend.
high. Yeah. Because you can put on insane pressure just because you've got the energy to. You know, as you get older, you change the game plan. 'Cause it's all right. Let's let the ball do the work, right?
Yeah.
And your skills you can execute, but they're not going to be hitting dead on kicks from 30 meters out. They're not going to be having great leading patterns whenever they're going into the forward line.
No, and when they are trying to implement a fast forward handball game, they're not all going to be clean. They're not all going to land right in front of the guy that they're supposed to land in front of. I can accept that, but it's where there's no effort, no accountability, and no intent.
Yeah.
The thing that pissed me off the most is that this Tyrell Dewar has been lauded throughout the preseason. He's going to be so good for this side. And to be honest, there's been a few times where we've watched and like I've been like, fuck, he's actually going to be pretty good.
He's fucking gunning it.
Yeah, but then a lot of the time he's gunning it when the ball's moving forward, but he does not run back the other way. He does not defend and doesn't put that pressure on.
Very Nathan Buckley-esque. Yeah, they like to run forward, but the same with Fife. He will not run backwards.
Mate,
but
it's so fucking annoying to watch when your team is under siege and you're leaving 6 dudes in the back line that have played less than fucking 50 games themselves, and you're just going to stand there and watch it happen and wait for it to come back and see if you can run towards the goals. That shit pisses me off because you go into it as a group and as a team. You need to work as a team, not work as teams within teams and go, oh, that's in the back line now. That's not my monkey.
yeah,
Like, leave that to Harry Edwards. And if I can stand here and maybe get it back, then I'll fucking run that way with it. That shit pisses me off when you fucking 70 points down.
Is
So-
it
It doesn't matter whether you roll as a forward.
Is it some of the coaching styles? So like with some of the newer gen coaches, where they're more friendlier than
Yeah, and it's all fucking soft. And we've got to build, like, yes, you have to build relationships, but how far do you have to go before you just go?
But is it
We're
a point of
actually here to play football, so
Is it a point of authority you take where it's like, look, I'm not here to be your best friend or your father figure or twist your nipple at halftime, which that's a Clarko thing, so maybe that's an issue.
yeah.
You know, but is it do you come in like the Kevin Sheedy's, the Malthouses, and you've got that
Draw a
separation,
line, man, firm hand,
especially when they're a younger team where they need that level of discipline. I don't know.
It's hard
obviously
to say.
Fags did it very differently, but you're not going to have that character in a lot of coaches.
No, and it's hard to say because you don't know what those conversations are like, what a post-game conversations are like.
Oh, I go to the Subiaco Cafe. I hear Longmuir and Pierce talk every now and then. It's a lot of almond milk.
Yeah, we've done more. We've done the Subiaco Cafe.
He's just about out of content.
yeah. Give me 3 minutes and we'll be talking about the camp. I guarantee it.
No, he mentioned the camp out the front, didn't he? So that's already come out of his mouth.
Or maybe the West Coast did a good preseason. I can recommend
Very good.
So
some bro scores.
they're at still talking about how shit this team is.
Yeah,
they're
just over it.
They're at a critical point when a player breaks down in tears when getting
Yeah.
interviewed and someone
Who
says
cried?
Brady
Hoff
Hoff.
Why'd he cry?
because they suck.
He's
and
fucking over it, bro.
He's over it.
Same reason I cried all week.
He was asked, "How are you? Like, how you feeling?" And
Well, it's a pretty stupid question. Like, you know.
I think it was a holistic
yeah,
a question around how you're feeling about things under the new coach and as you
and
move
just started
forward.
crying. And left and didn't come back.
Yeah, but that's how old is he? What, in his 20s?
20.
Yeah, 2020.
Oh, that's this generation. Everyone
would be 20.
Everyone needs a safe
Yeah,
space.
but
I mean, he's
he's-
arguably the toughest bloke on that team right now.
You could give him captaincy as a young bloke because
Yeah,
he's fucking
you
out there giving
absolutely
it. You could, and I would. Oh, if they said, we're stripping these guys and giving it to Brady Hoff, I'd be like, fuck
Brady Hoff, Liam Baker.
No, co-captains. I hate co-captains. Every team with co-captains always fucking
No,
suck.
that's fair. Brady Hoff or Liam Baker.
Yeah. No, give it to Brady Hoff, the youngest one there. The youngest one showing leadership qualities. There you go. You got fucking 10 years of captaincy ahead of you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't like the coach. I like one leader, one way.
Yeah.
Because otherwise,
100%.
like, if you play, and even on field, you think like as soon as if they say something different each, who do they
Big
follow?
issue.
But then you're going to go who's got the relationship, but you know what I
That's
mean?
right.
And then that could be detrimental.
Lose it. And when they both don't give a fuck, well, you got double the problem. So like,
Yeah.
But
The whole thing's fucked. We're in for a
I've
very long year.
I've always hated co-captains. Never liked it. Didn't like it when they announced it at the club. Thought it might be beneficial while they're trying to rebuild. That they're trying to build up this group, but it's clearly not working when you got not one but two dudes who suck as captains. So
And right now, soccer's footballers too.
Yeah.
so.
So
Anyway,
I
we'll get
wish
spanked by Essendon this week, and then we'll see where we land.
Oh,
after
you're going
that.
to make Brad Scott have an arrogant press conference again. Fuck you.
I-
He actually
Yeah.
sounded like he knew what he was talking about last week. I'm like,
Did he?
dude, you beat Melbourne.
Yeah.
Like,
Mate,
Don't
they are
actually-
not looking good.
and he thinks he's like Kevin Sheedy. I'm like, it pains me to watch him in press conferences now.
Yeah.
Like, and you watch as soon as they lose, and they will lose again. It's
Oh, they will.
You know, and I'm like, dude,
Oh God, I hope they lose this fucking week.
and it's like, you know, he was within the AFL headquarters, 3 years? He knows what's coming for the next 5, and these teams
Yeah.
still shit.
Well, he probably fucking wrote what's coming for the next 5.
Yeah, exactly. I'm surprised that's not a conflict of
And-
interest whenever they signed him as a coach, where it's like, well, you know,
Got a heads up. What are they? What's their game plan look like right now?
not the Bombers.
Yeah, they don't have one.
Let's be fair. They've played 4 games, right?
Yeah.
And
They don't actually look terrible. They were.
they don't. They lost to
No, some of the
Hawks.
young players
They lost
are.
to Hawks in Adelaide. So
Yeah.
Yeah,
Not
they were
bad.
the 2 teams who were going to challenge this year.
Yeah.
What did we think of Hawthorn's capitulation against the Power?
oh, here we go.
Yeah.
Fraud checked by frauds.
Yeah. That was the funniest.
There was a bit to come out of that game.
mate.
Was it
yeah.
like 9 or 10 straight goals the Power kicked?
Yeah.
It
Nice.
was quite a weird game to watch. Like, obviously,
Yeah.
fuck the tips.
Yeah,
Oh,
but
before we
there
go
is-
on to that, before we finish on the West Coast, 77 contested possessions across the entire team, across the entire game.
Yeah.
New all-time low in recorded stat history in
Since
VFL and
champion
AFL
data
since
been
champion data. Yeah, wild.
VFL history as well.
It's champion data history.
So even during the World War II period, they were
Can
better.
Yeah.
you
Yep.
can you sort this fucking lead out before you end up?
This whole situation's driving me a bit fucking mad.
Well, you're a West Coast supporter. Do you know how to hold a lead?
Good one.
Or you're a
one.
North Melbourne supporter, eh?
Hey, good one.
Over in front, what happens now?
Yeah, he's
That'll
got a
do.
bit of confidence about him and his
He
team.
has, yeah. All right.
Oh, well,
Now we're good.
we've dropped 2 leads so far, so you know,
Yeah.
I'm not happy with that. But anyway, we're back to the
Back to the Hawks.
yeah. So
Yeah,
there was a lot to come. There was a lot of
So just on the stat real quick, right? Because everyone, like, I was really looking forward. There's a lot of things we can say just to be like real AFL journalists.
Go on.
I'm not going to say them. I'll
Okay.
text them to you. You all read them.
did you?
Yeah, the other day.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but Port have had it over Hawthorn for a long time now.
Hmm.
It's their bogey team. It's like anyone playing cats at Cardinia. Like it's a legitimate thing, and should have been aware of it. Now I believe I tipped Port Adelaide.
Did you? Did you tip the Hingston?
Well, I got 7 tips right, which means I only dropped 2 games.
Yeah.
And I'm
Same.
pretty sure I tipped Port as one of.
Yeah, you and I tipped the same, I think, didn't we?
I must have gone the Hawks.
Where
then.
are we? Did you post them this week, Chad?
Huh?
No, he did not.
No, I didn't. No, I didn't. No, I did post it because I said something about Higgins in the hashtags on Instagram.
Oh, the tips are in for gather round. Neither of us tipped Port.
Oh, so
We-
what did I get right then?
Wait.
Did I tip Port? No.
Did he post the wrong tips? Please tell me you posted the wrong
I
tips.
think you posted the wrong tip.
No. That was the one you sent me.
Please tell me you posted the wrong tips.
I think you posted the wrong tip.
You posted the wrong tips.
Where are they from?
I don't know. They're in my gallery.
Mate.
No, he didn't.
No?
No, Crom started the round.
Yeah,
Well,
take
why
that.
have I got Hawks versus St Kilda for the last game then?
Why do you have Hawks versus St Kilda?
I don't know who did the
Oh, hang
graphics, Dan.
Have I fucked up or has Chad fucked up?
I'm just going back to gather round. It looks like you have fucked up, mate.
I'll wear that.
St Kilda.
Who did St Kilda play?
I don't know, but you've
Oh,
actively put a St Kilda. It's not like you've copied and pasted from the last one. No wonder Chad didn't get his tip right.
What
You
the
give
fuck
me
have I
fucking
done?
St Kilda.
I'm doing too much. Someone needs to take this on.
So what did I get wrong then?
Fuck.
I tipped Suns.
Well, you didn't tip the fucking Saints, so you got that wrong.
No,
God
I think I
damn.
tipped the Stones. I definitely tipped the Stones. Well,
I need to just go and look at the screenshots, I reckon, because this is cooked now.
Based on that, dropped that game. Got right.
What the fuck, man?
Did I tip the Dogs? No, I tipped the Lions. Based on these tips, I only got one wrong.
It's not a bad ending. There's a few not upsets, but there's a few whatchamacallits. I can't get words out.
I only
anymore.
dropped one. So where did I get it that I only had 7?
I'm gonna have to hang on. Let's go into the tips now because I went off. I went
Oh
off the
no,
graphics.
sorry, yeah, because we all tipped Adelaide.
That
The
was
Geelong
yeah.
one.
I
So the
fucked up royally.
so the only
It's
team.
me.
Yeah,
I fucked up the graphics.
yeah, we know. We can see that you put St Kilda on it.
Yeah.
Oh no, I got 3
He
wrong.
did tip the Saints against the Giants.
Yeah,
but
that was
you-
and I
yeah.
tipped Hawks
Mate.
and Crows. Ugh.
How's that, right? Everyone expected Adelaide to win and they lost, and no one expected Port to win and they won.
Crazy.
Yeah, the opposite Adelaide
Port,
teams won.
Port, the
yeah.
Kings of Gatherround. Port, the Kings of South Australia. The real Adelaide team. Port Adelaide.
I got 7.
Yeah, I got 7.
I did actually. Did you see the Magpies banner on the weekend? They said something about being the real Magpies of Adelaide, and it was like a Crows rip-off of their.
That's funny.
I thought that was cute.
That's
yeah.
funny. All right, let's do the tips.
Yeah.
Wait, are you sure?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's be very
Who's
clear
playing?
about our tips.
So
Holy shit.
you had nothing else to talk about?
Nah. Otherwise, I'm going to
there,
piss all over the sofa.
there was nothing really else that was kind of that overly dramatic. I mean, obviously we had the post the Port Hawthorn game. There was a bit of a blow up on
Yeah, sorry. Yeah,
Instagram.
we were actually discussing that.
Um,
Yeah, so I'm surprised I didn't tip Port because they have this very long history of flogging Hawthorn.
Yeah.
It seems the hate seems to be increasing, especially with the most recent. Was that?
Oh, you're talking about Willie Rioli?
Yeah. Do you think
Yeah.
that was fit? Does that? Well, obviously, we don't condone social media stuff like that. I know it's very
Probably a bit
contentious.
much, yeah. I mean,
Um,
the guy's pissed off, so whatever. And I thought it was quite funny when he showed in the footy, to be fair.
I have no issue with that. Like,
I
yeah.
also
Yeah.
I also like that he made his post was like poignant, but he also specified he doesn't have an issue with the players.
No.
It's not about
No.
the players. It's
The club and the organisation.
and he made that point. So then, they know that he's not shitting on them.
Yeah.
He's just saying what the club, right?
Hmm.
And I think it all kicked off from what Dunstall said
What did he say?
at the Hall of Fame when Willie Senior was inducted into the Hall of Fame.
hmm.
And Dunstall did the speech about it and said he got here and we laughed because this guy's not conditioned. He doesn't train because he was a keg with legs.
Oh, okay.
And he said that at his Hall of Fame induction.
It was
And-
also, I mean, Dunstall was being self-deprecating as well, saying that he was even slower. So look, I can understand how
But
you can interpret
when
it
you
that
see
way.
that being spoken of that way, you're gonna
Yeah.
get fucking upset. Right?
Yeah.
It probably would. I wouldn't work it into a Hall of Fame speech. No.
No.
It's
Pretty much.
of all the times you don't do that. Right. So anyway, I think he copped a lot of racism and homophobic slurs this time. So
Who?
Willie Rioli, he didn't train this week because social media was shut down because of the racial and homophobic slurs he received on social media after his post.
That usually comes from
Alright.
Port supporters. Who else would have been doing it?
Tex.
Maybe.
Does anyone check his phone?
But I just thought homophobic slurs was a nice touch, something new.
Why
Yeah.
why were they
At
directing
least
homophobic stuff
at least
at
they
him?
weren't being only racist to him for once.
Yeah.
Bit of diversity in his life.
What was there a reason they went homophobic with him?
No,
Was
who
there-
knows?
no?
It just would have been the words they were using, I'm sure. But unwarranted.
Yeah, no need for that.
No, I just meant if
Really.
there was like a reason they went that.
He
was the
didn't.
reason
He
they
didn't
went that
single.
way.
If he'd been
No.
singling people out and they were getting defensive, then I don't understand why they're being defensive.
Yeah.
Not that I condone their responses in the first place, but
Mm.
he didn't single anyone out, and he was making a very strong point that it's not the players, it's just the establishment.
Yeah.
And at least he's still raging against the machine.
Yeah, good on him.
All right, tips. Got a good question for you here, right? Before we start laying them in. And I suppose you can make this tip if you want, but if you were looking at the landscape of the football right now,
Yep.
would you take North Melbourne over Carlton?
Oh, look. No.
Because 80% of tipsters are saying Carlton's the way.
Yet the dollar odds are the other way around, according to Sportsbet.
No,
Well, it's even at Marvel.
no, Carlton's
yeah.
a favourite. That's correct. 80% of people are tipping Carlton.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's-
right, yeah.
Quite.
Well,
I'm
I'm
But
surprised.
North have
yeah.
only lost games against the best teams.
Yeah.
Carlton's only won a game against the worst.
The
team.
worst, yeah.
And it still took him a quarter to get going with it. Like,
Yeah. And if someone had taken confidence boost from their first quarter, Carlton might have lost that game as well.
Yeah.
So when you look at it statistically,
I'm tipping Carlton.
this is a Moneyball thing right now.
I'm surprised it's that one-sided.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like it shouldn't be that one-sided. If you're looking at the stats and who's played and done what so far, Carlton should have like 1% of people back.
Yeah.
Because Mackay got knocked out as well on the weekend, so he's out again.
Yeah. Oh, big surprise.
Yeah.
Probably because Ben's playing at the same time.
Oh, there's fuckers. It's a conspiracy. Add that to the conspiracy podcast.
No, they already debunked that one.
Yeah, they did.
It took them 8 years, and they finally were on the same field at the same time.
Holograms are very.
All right,
All right, so Brizzy Collingwood.
I got Brizzy by 11.
Chad.
Oh, we're going around the circle.
Oh my fucking god! Just
Let's do it quickly though.
It's
I got to
going
wrap
usually
this
go
up.
all
I'm going to
of them,
explode.
like, yeah.
someone needs to piss again.
Yep.
All right.
Take
I'm
as
actually
much
fucking
time
busted.
I will
as
go-
I told you, don't drink water when you come in here.
Can't help
I'm
it.
going to go Brisbane by 30.
I go on Brizzy by 23. North Carlton.
Carlton.
I'm going North because I like Moneyball. It's a good movie.
Yep.
Jonah Hill's awesome in it.
Fair.
Chad, hurry up. Dan.
Hang on, I'm trying to. Mate, won't let me scroll across properly.
He needs to piddle.
Actually going to fucking explode.
I will go. Oh, yeah, I'll go North Melbourne as well.
Yeah, real man.
Right on.
Let's just skip.
What'd you
this
go,
one.
Carlton?
Yeah.
Oh,
Let's skip this one. We all know who we're tipping.
who are you tipping?
Essendon. Dickhead.
All right. I'll also go the Bombers.
Good. Good.
D's Fremantle.
So that's a no-brainer to me too.
Freo.
How is Gorn's mental health? Is he
Chad's
okay?
Chad's
Fuck, you're
definitely
actually killing
Chad's tipping Freo because it's his team.
No, hang the
so-
fuck
me. Yeah.
Just on the record, my mental health is consistently fucked and I still perform, so I'm not using that as an excuse anymore. I have to go to work.
That's fair. Who are you
I've
tipping?
been this
Fremantle
close
or
to the
Melbourne?
edge. Fremantle.
Okay.
Because it's his team.
Yeah.
All right, here's a good one.
This is a good
Crom
one.
Giants.
Who you got? Chattels. Today.
Only because it's at home, I will get the Crows.
No,
Giants. Big sound, mate.
Big sound.
Richmond, Gold Coast, Suns.
Gold Coast.
Yeah, good. Yeah, that's an easy.
Now I'm tipping Gold Coast, but I won't be surprised if the Tigers come to win for Dimmer the Dog.
But
Dimmer the dog.
one thing that's going to go against Gold Coast and Dimmer, it's at Marvel, not the MCG. So
Yeah.
That means Gold Coast wins, right? Richmond had to travel to the other stadium.
What was it? Dimmer had the issue? Or was it Richmond
It was
who had the
Marvel.
issue?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, but he only had the issue because of the travel, not because of.
But yeah, but
15 minutes.
will Dimmer be able to
Now-
put his anger
no,
aside
'cause
and coach
now-
clearly at
'cause
the
now
Marvel
Dimmer's
Stadium?
like-
Yeah, I'm
on-
going to struggle to put my anger aside in a second if we don't get these
now
tips done.
Dimmer's on the travelling is hard bandwagon.
He
like,
will be now, yeah.
Gold Coast.
Yep.
Sydney Swans, Pork, Adelaide.
Swans.
Yeah, I'm going to go Swans, but I'm not
Swans.
super confident.
Western Bulldogs ain't Kilda.
This is a hard one.
What?
I struggled with this one. I've gone the Saints.
What?
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yep.
No, mate, it's not the most insane thing that's been said on this podcast. But I'm going to go Bullies because I think
Same.
they showed enough against.
Because
the
I'm not a
reigning premiers.
dum-dum. All
We'll
right,
see.
and the last one, the big one. Geelong Cats versus Hawks.
Wee.
Geelong home game at the MCG.
You go.
Because that's fair, not fair. I am going the Catteries.
Same.
I will go. I'm going to go the Hawks actually.
Yeah, I'm changing to the Hawks.
Oh, well. I'm sticking with the Cats.
Yeah, loser. All right, that's
me.
it.
That's it. I'm busting.
Well, it sucks for you because we're all going to say goodbye and then we're going to do some knee slapping and whatnot. So
Yeah,
it
we
looks
will.
like we have it still chatting after the end of the show.
Very
so,
natural.
been afraid of the mark. Happy to be here.
Same.
We'll see you next week.
We will.
Good mental health, you all.
I don't want to